I'll never forget the moment I overheard my mother-in-law and husband's mistress planning my accident. I was 4 months pregnant, standing frozen behind the kitchen door, my hand instinctively protecting my stomach. They wanted me gone, permanently, but they had no idea who I was about to become. What you're about to hear is a story of betrayal so deep it'll make your blood boil. But the revenge, it's so perfectly executed, you'll want to watch until the very last second. This is about a woman who was underestimated, thrown away, and then rose like a phoenix to destroy everyone who hurt her. Hit subscribe, because this is going to be one wild ride. 4 years. I gave Derek 4 years of my life. 4 years of being the perfect wife, the obedient daughter-in-law, the woman who smiled through every insult and swallowed every cruel word. I lived in his family's mansion, a beautiful prison with marble floors and golden cages. From the outside, everyone thought I had it all: a handsome, successful husband, a grand house, the life every woman supposedly dreams of. But behind those closed doors, I was dying slowly. Patricia, my mother-in-law, made sure of that. Every morning started with her comments about my appearance, my cooking, my inability to give her grandchildren yet. "Kinsley, dear, that dress makes you look so plain." Kinsley, a proper wife would have breakfast ready by 6. Kinsley, you do realize Derek needs a woman who can represent him properly at events, don't you? I took it all. I smiled. I nodded. I changed my clothes, redid my makeup, cooked the meals exactly how she liked them. I became smaller and smaller, trying to fit into the impossible box they'd created for me. Derek wasn't much better. The man I married, the one who promised to love and cherish me, had disappeared the moment we signed the marriage certificate. He controlled everything. Every dollar I spent had to be approved. Every friend I wanted to see was inappropriate or not our kind of people. He cut me off from my family systematically, telling them lies about me until they stopped calling. I was completely isolated, completely dependent, completely trapped. Then, 4 months ago, I discovered I was pregnant. I should have been overjoyed, right? But something in my gut told me to wait, to not announce it yet. Maybe it was the way Derek had been acting. Distant, cold, always on his phone with that secretive smile. Maybe it was Patricia's increasingly strange behavior, whispering conversations that stopped the moment I entered a room. When I went for my routine checkup, the doctor gave me news that would have sent most women running home to tell their husbands immediately. "Congratulations, Kinsley. You're having triplets." 3 babies, 3 tiny heartbeats on that monitor, 3 perfect little miracles growing inside me. But I didn't tell Derek. Something whispered in my mind, "Wait, just wait." That instinct saved my life. 2 weeks after I found out about the triplets, I decided to follow Patricia. I know it sounds paranoid, but you have to understand. I could feel something dark brewing. She'd been leaving the house every Tuesday afternoon, dressed up, makeup perfect, refusing to say where she was going. So that Tuesday, I followed her to a small cafe downtown. What I saw made my blood run cold. Patricia sat across from a young woman, beautiful, probably mid-20s, with long brown hair and an expensive leather jacket. They were laughing, heads close together, looking at what appeared to be jewelry catalogs and wedding magazines. Wedding magazines. I ducked behind a pillar, my heart pounding so hard I thought they might hear it. I pulled out my phone and started recording. And what I heard in the next 10 minutes changed everything. "Once we get rid of Kinsley, everything will be perfect," the young woman, I'd later learn her name was Natasha, said with such casual cruelty it made me sick. "Derek can finally be with someone who actually deserves him." Patricia laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, darling, you have no idea how long I've been waiting to hear those words. That girl was always so beneath us. I tried to tell Derek, but he thought he needed to marry someone humble to look good for the business. Well, that experiment failed." I stood there, hand over my mouth, trying not to gasp. They continued talking about their plans, how Derek would divorce me, how Natasha would move into the mansion, how they'd have a beautiful wedding by summer. My husband was having an affair with this woman, and my mother-in-law was not just approving, she was orchestrating it. But I didn't know the worst part yet. That came 3 nights later. I couldn't sleep. The pregnancy was making me nauseous, and my mind wouldn't stop spinning with what I'd discovered. Around 2 in the morning, I went downstairs to get some water. As I reached the bottom of the staircase, I heard voices coming from Patricia's study. Low, serious voices. I should have announced myself. I should have walked right in. But something made me stop, and I'm so glad I did. The life insurance will set us up nicely. That was Derek's voice, cold and calculating in a way I'd never heard before. Once she's gone, we split it 3 ways. You get your share, Mother. Natasha gets hers and I keep the rest. My legs almost gave out. Life insurance? Gone? And you're absolutely sure this will look like an accident? Natasha's voice, worried but excited. I don't want to go to prison for this. Patricia's laugh was like ice. Oh, please, dear. I've thought of everything. Kinsley has no family who cares about her. We made sure of that. Her medical records show anxiety and depression. And the brakes on her car failing during her grocery run? These things happen. Tragic, really. A young woman, all alone, losing control on that dangerous hill road. I clasped my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. They were planning to kill me, actually murder me, and make it look like an accident. Derek spoke again, and I heard absolutely no emotion in his voice. We do it next week, Tuesday. She always goes grocery shopping alone on Tuesday afternoons. That gives us enough time to prepare everything. I ran back upstairs as quietly as I could, locked myself in the guest bathroom, and threw up. Not from morning sickness, from pure terror. These people, this family I'd tried so hard to please, were planning my murder, and I was carrying 3 babies. 3 innocent lives that would die with me if I didn't do something. I sat on that bathroom floor for an hour, shaking, trying to figure out what to do. Call the police? With what proof? Secret recordings might not be admissible, and Derek's family had connections everywhere. Run away? With no money, no job, no support system? Where would I go? Then my phone rang. Unknown number. At 3 in the morning. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Kinsley Anderson? A professional male voice, kind but formal. Yes, I whispered, still shaking. My name is Mr. Harrison. I'm an estate attorney, and I've been trying to reach you for 6 months. It's regarding your grandfather's will. My grandfather. I hadn't thought about him in years. Derek had convinced me to stop visiting him, said the old man was senile and a waste of time. Grandpa had died about 6 months ago, and Derek told me there was no inheritance, nothing to worry about, not to bother with the funeral. I believed him. God, I was so stupid. Mrs. Anderson, your grandfather left you everything, his entire estate, but there's something you need to know. The inheritance comes with specific conditions. I listened, barely breathing, as Mr. Harrison explained. My grandfather, it turned out, had been incredibly wealthy. We're talking about $100 million wealthy. Multiple businesses, properties, investments, an empire I knew nothing about. But Grandpa was smart. He'd seen through Derek from the very beginning. Your grandfather suspected your husband married you for the eventual inheritance, Mr. Harrison explained. So he created a test. He publicly wrote you out of the will, left everything to charity. He wanted to see if Derek would stay, or if his true colors would show. And? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Your grandfather passed 6 months ago. According to our investigators, Derek's behavior toward you deteriorated significantly after the will reading. The emotional abuse, the isolation, the control, it all increased. But your grandfather's will has a clause. If you can prove betrayal, abuse, or that you're in genuine danger from your spouse or his family, the full inheritance activates immediately. Everything goes to you. I started crying. Grandpa had protected me, even from beyond the grave. Mr. Harrison, I said, my voice stronger now, what if I told you they're planning to murder me, that I have recordings of them discussing it? There was a pause. Then, Mrs. Anderson, I think you need to come to my office, first thing tomorrow morning, and bring those recordings. The next morning, I told Derek I had a doctor's appointment. He barely looked up from his phone, just waved me away dismissively. I drove straight to Mr. Harrison's office, which turned out to be in the most prestigious building downtown. The legal team he'd assembled was impressive. Within 2 hours, they'd listened to all my recordings, verified their authenticity, and begun building a case. But Mr. Harrison had something else to tell me. Kinsley, while investigating Derek's background for your grandfather, we discovered something. Your husband has been embezzling from his own company for 3 years, nearly $2 million. The mansion you live in, built with stolen money, your mother-in-law's lifestyle, funded by corporate fraud. I couldn't believe it. Does anyone else know? Not yet. But with your permission, as the new majority shareholder, your grandfather owned 49% of Derek's company, which now belongs to you. We can report this to the board. We can also reveal that you're the new owner of the property the mansion sits on. Your grandfather bought it years ago. I sat back in the leather chair, mind racing. I owned Derek's company, I owned the house, and I had evidence of his fraud and their murder plot? Mr. Harrison, I said slowly, I don't want revenge. I want justice. I want them to lose everything the way they tried to take everything from me. Can you help me do that? He smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a lawyer who was about to destroy someone legally and thoroughly. Mrs. Anderson, it would be my absolute pleasure. We spent the next week planning. I went home every day and played the perfect victim, quiet, obedient Kinsley. I even let Patricia criticize my appearance and Derek ignore me at dinner. All while knowing that with one phone call, I could destroy their entire world. Tuesday came, the day they'd planned to kill me. I was supposed to go grocery shopping alone, drive down that dangerous hill road where my brakes would mysteriously fail. Instead, I called Mr. Harrison. Release everything, I told him. I want it all to come down today. Are you sure? He asked. Once we start this, there's no going back. I'm carrying 3 babies, I said, my hand on my stomach. 3 innocent lives that these monsters wanted to murder along with me. I've never been more sure of anything. Consider it done. I packed a small bag with my important documents, some clothes, and the few items that actually meant something to me. Everything else in that house was just stuff, expensive, beautiful stuff that meant nothing. I checked into a luxury hotel under an assumed name and waited. The first domino fell at 10 a.m. Derek arrived at his office for an important board meeting, only to be stopped by security. I'm sorry, Mr. Anderson, but you're no longer employed here. The board of directors has terminated your position effective immediately. I wasn't there, but Mr. Harrison's assistant was, and she told me everything. Derek had apparently screamed, threatened to sue, demanded to know who was behind it. The board chairman simply said, "The majority shareholder has evidence of embezzlement. Criminal charges are being filed. Security will escort you out." They handed him a box for his belongings and walked him out like a common criminal. His corporate credit cards were declined at the parking garage. His bank accounts were frozen pending investigation. Derek called Patricia immediately. She was dealing with her own nightmare. At 11 a.m., she received an eviction notice, 30 days to vacate the property. The mansion had been sold to an anonymous LLC. All of her credit cards were suddenly maxed out because we'd discovered she'd been using Derek's corporate cards for everything, and those were now canceled. By noon, Natasha had dumped Derek. She'd been planning to leave him anyway once she got her share of my life insurance money, but when she realized there would be no money, no mansion, no wealthy husband, she sent him a text that just said, "Lose my number, loser." The media got anonymous tips about the embezzlement scandal. By evening news, Derek's face was on every channel. Local businessman under investigation for corporate fraud. Patricia's society friends stopped returning her calls. I watched it all from my hotel suite, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. But I wasn't done. Not even close. The next week, Derek tried desperately to find me. He called my phone. Disconnected. He went to my parents' house. They told him I hadn't contacted them in years, per his instructions, and they had no idea where I was. He even tried the hospitals, thinking maybe I'd been in an accident. That's when he ran into Dr. Phillips, my obstetrician, and Dr. Phillips, not knowing any better, smiled and said, "Hey, Derek, congratulations on the triplets. Kinsley looked so healthy at her last appointment." Derek apparently went white. "What triplets?" Dr. Phillips realized his mistake immediately and shut down the conversation. But the damage was done. Derek now knew I was pregnant, with 3 babies, and I'd disappeared. He tried to find me. He tried everything. But every hospital had my instructions, restraining order on file. Derek Anderson is not to know my location or have any access to my medical information. 6 months passed, 6 months of peace, of healing, of preparing for my babies. I gave birth to 3 beautiful, healthy children, 2 boys and a girl. I named them after my favorite poets, Eliot, Brennan, and Harper. They were perfect, absolutely perfect. I'd spent those 6 months building a new life. I'd taken over my grandfather's business empire, cleaned house of all the corrupt executives, and started running things ethically and efficiently. The company's value had doubled. I'd also started a foundation for women escaping abuse, because I knew firsthand how hard it was to leave when you had no resources. I was happy. Actually, genuinely happy. The woman who'd been thrown away like trash had become the CEO of a multi-million-dollar empire and the mother of 3 beautiful babies. And then came the charity gala. It was a high society event, the kind where everyone who's anyone shows up to be seen. I was the main sponsor. My foundation was the beneficiary of the evening's donations. I wore a cream-colored designer gown, my hair and makeup professionally done. 3 nannies accompanied me, each holding one of my precious babies. When the host announced, "Please welcome our event sponsor, CEO of Harrison Industries, Kinsley Anderson," I walked into that ballroom with my head held high. The room went absolutely silent. People stared, whispered, and then I saw them, Derek and Patricia, standing near the back. They'd somehow gotten in, probably with old invitations from before their fall from grace. Patricia tried to approach me immediately. My security team, yes, I had security now, blocked her path smoothly. She sputtered, tried to push past them, but they were professionals. Derek was worse. He actually shoved through the crowd, desperate, his clothes wrinkled and cheap compared to what he used to wear. "Kinsley, those are my children. You can't keep them from me." The entire ballroom was watching now, phones out, recording everything. I turned to face him, my expression calm and cold. "Your children?" I said clearly, my voice carrying. "You gave me $500 and told me to get an abortion. You said, 'You're not keeping any baby.' Remember that, Derek?" Gasps rippled through the crowd. Derek's face went red, then white. "I didn't know there were 3. I didn't know about the inheritance. Kinsley, please, we can work this out." "Work what out exactly?" I asked. "The part where you embezzled $2 million? The part where you had an affair with Natasha while your wife was pregnant? Or maybe the part where you and your mother planned to murder me by tampering with my car brakes?" The gasps turned to shocked murmurs. Patricia screamed, "That's a lie! She's lying!" Mr. Harrison stepped forward, holding a folder of documents. "I'm afraid it's all documented, Mrs. Anderson. Audio recordings, financial records, witness testimonies. The district attorney has everything. In fact—" He nodded to someone in the crowd. 2 police officers stepped forward. "Derek Anderson, Patricia Anderson, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and embezzlement." I watched as they read them their rights. Patricia was screaming about lawyers and false accusations. Derek just stared at me, finally understanding that the quiet, obedient wife he'd underestimated had completely destroyed him. "How?" he whispered as the officers put handcuffs on him. "How did you do this?" I smiled. Not a cruel smile, just a satisfied one. "You threw away a woman worth $100 million because you thought she was worthless. You tried to murder the mother of your children, and you never, not once, bothered to actually know who I was. My grandfather knew exactly who you were, though. He tested you, and you failed spectacularly." As they led him away, Natasha appeared from the crowd, trying to approach. My security stopped her too. "Kinsley?" she called out, her voice desperate. "I'm so sorry. I was manipulated by them. I didn't know—" "Save it," I cut her off. "You knew exactly what you were doing. And by the way, Natasha, I bought your parents' house last month. You'll be receiving your eviction notice on Monday. Enjoy your week." Her face went pale, and she disappeared back into the crowd. The rest of the evening was surreal. People approached me with congratulations, with offers of business partnerships, with genuine kindness. Many were people I'd known during my marriage who'd watched me suffer and done nothing, but I accepted their words gracefully. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. 3 months later, I stood at my grandfather's grave with my 3 babies in a stroller beside me. The marble headstone was simple, just his name and dates, but I'd had a quote added, "The truth always rises." "You were right, Grandpa," I whispered, touching the cool stone. "You knew what he was all along. Thank you for protecting me, even after you were gone. Thank you for giving me the tools to protect myself and my children." A voice spoke behind me. "Beautiful service." I turned to see Julian, my new general counsel. He'd been helping me run the company for the past few months. He was kind, intelligent, and treated me with genuine respect. We'd had coffee a few times, talked about business and life, but nothing more. I wasn't ready for romance, might never be ready again. But I liked having him around, as a friend, as a colleague, as someone who saw me as a full human being, not a possession or an obstacle. "Thank you for coming," I said. "Of course. How are the triplets?" I looked down at my babies, all 3 sleeping peacefully. "They're perfect. Happy. Safe. That's all that matters." "And you? Are you happy?" I thought about that question. Was I happy? I'd been betrayed, nearly murdered, thrown away like garbage. I'd had to fight tooth and nail for justice, had to become harder and colder than I ever wanted to be, but I was also free. I had my children, I had my independence, I had the power to help other women escape what I'd escaped. I'd turned my pain into purpose. "Yeah," I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. "I actually am." Julian smiled. "Good. You deserve it. You know, the foundation's applications have tripled this month. We're helping a lot of people because of what you built." That's what made it all worth it. Not the money, not the revenge, not even the justice, though that felt good too. It was knowing that my suffering had created something meaningful, that other women wouldn't have to feel as trapped as I had. Derek ended up serving 5 years for fraud and conspiracy. Patricia got 3 years as an accomplice. Natasha moved to another state, her reputation destroyed. Their names became cautionary tales in social circles, warnings about greed and cruelty. I rebuilt the company into something ethical and profitable. My children grew up in a home filled with love, stability, and honesty. I taught them early that people aren't commodities, that kindness matters, that you treat others with dignity regardless of what they can give you. And sometimes, late at night when the babies were asleep, I'd think about that moment, standing frozen behind the kitchen door, hearing them plan my death. I'd think about how close I came to not being here, how close my children came to never existing. But they didn't win. I did. And that's the story I want you to remember. They thought throwing me out would break me. Instead, it freed me. My grandfather always said, "When people show you who they really are, believe them, then use that information wisely." I did. My children will never know poverty, abuse, or manipulation. They'll know strength, justice, and unconditional love. To anyone out there being underestimated, document everything, stay 3 steps ahead, and remember, living well isn't just the best revenge, it's the only revenge worth having. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications because I bring you the most jaw-dropping true stories every week. Comment below. Justice served. If you think I handled this perfectly, or tell me what you would have done differently, share this with someone who needs to know that karma is real and patience is power. Remember, never underestimate the quiet ones. They're often planning your downfall while you're busy celebrating their pain. See you in the next story.